Listen up, folks, because we're about to dive into how this one-armed Giga Chad named Shanks basically wrote the blueprint for our favorite rubber-brained protagonist. And no, I'm not just talking about that crusty old straw hat that probably hasn't seen a washing machine in decades. From saving a rubber kid in a tiny village to secretly pulling strings across the entire world, today we're breaking down how this one-armed emperor literally engineered the rise of the next pirate king without anyone realizing it. Let's start with the day little Luffy decided to turn himself into a human kebab just to prove he was tough enough to join Shanks' crew. Most captains would have called child services right there, but our boy Shanks? He just laughed it off, while probably questioning his life choices of hanging out at a bar with a 7-year-old. But here's where things get interesting. Remember when those mountain bandits rolled up and started acting tough? Shanks could have turned them into human pretzels faster than Luffy can say meat. Instead, he's there taking sake to the face, laughing it off like it's just another Tuesday. Little Luffy's sitting there absolutely losing it, thinking his hero's a straight-up coward. Plot twist. When those same bandits actually threatened Luffy's life, Shanks showed up like a dad who just heard someone picked on his kid at school. One glare from this man sent half those bandits face-planting into unconsciousness. That's when Luffy, and all of us, learned the most important lesson. Real strength isn't about fighting every battle. It's about knowing which ones matter. And then we got the moment, you know the one, where Shanks said goodbye to his left arm like it was last season's fashion. The Sea King probably thought it was getting a 2-for-1 special that day, but nah. Shanks really said, "This arm is a small price to pay for this rubber idiot's future." And honestly, best investment in anime history. That moment when Shanks planted that hat on Luffy's head, my man didn't just give him some old headwear, he handed this kid his entire dream wrapped in a promise to become someone great. Talk about pressure, right? Imagine getting a hand-me-down and being told, BTW, this comes with the responsibility of becoming the king of the pirates, no biggie. And you better believe our boy Luffy took that seriously. Have you seen how he acts when someone so much as breathes on that hat wrong? Man turns into the IRS when you mess with his precious headpiece. That hat might as well be the One Piece itself with how much Luffy protects it. Here's the thing though. Shanks didn't just influence Luffy's dream, he straight up engineered the second coming of Gol D. Roger. Think about it. Same grin, same crazy determination, same ability to make powerful allies by being absolutely unhinged. Shanks saw Roger and Luffy before anyone else did, and he basically said, yep, this is the one. This chaos gremlin right here. You know what's wild? Before Luffy was out there turning bad guys into human pretzels and collecting crew members like they were Pokemon, he was just some hyper kid in a sleepy village watching the coolest pirate crew ever just vibe. And let me tell you, Shanks' crew set the bar so high they might as well have put it in orbit. Like, if you're a kid and everything you know about pirates comes from scary stories and wanted posters, then this crew rolls up to your village, and instead of pillaging and causing chaos, they're turning the local bar into the world's chillest hangout spot. Shanks is over there making dad jokes. His crew is basically adopting the whole village, and little Luffy is sitting there getting his entire worldview flipped upside down. But here's where it gets good. Remember when those mountain bandits came in acting like they were hot stuff? They're doing the whole respect me or else routine, and what does Shanks do? My man's sitting there, getting free sake shampoo treatment, laughing like someone just told him the world's best joke. Little Luffy's watching this thinking Shanks is the biggest coward in the East Blue, but hold up, this was actually lesson number 1 in how to be a Chad 101. Because when things got real, when those same bandits actually threatened Luffy, oh boy, the temperature in that village dropped faster than Aokiji's vacation plans. Shanks shows up with his crew, and suddenly everyone's remembering that this coward has a bounty that would make your grandkids rich. But he's not there to flex, he's there to protect what matters. And then we get to the moment. The scene that had everyone questioning if they were really watching a kids show. Shanks straight up said goodbye to his left arm like it was last week's grocery list. No hesitation, no dramatic monologue, just pure, this kid's life matters more than my arm energy. The Sea King probably went home and had an existential crisis after that encounter. You know what's even more wild? After losing an entire arm, Shanks is just chilling there like he misplaced a sock in the laundry. It's just an arm, he says, while everyone else is having a collective breakdown. This man really turned a life-changing injury into a teaching moment about what matters in life. Talk about commitment to the bit. And guess what? Our boy Luffy was taking notes. Every single time we see him put his life on the line for his crew, every time he forgives an enemy who disrespects his friends, every time he chooses protecting his nakama over proving he's the strongest, that's all Shanks' influence right there. The man didn't just teach Luffy what a pirate should be, he showed him what a real leader looks like. Okay, let's talk about the most iconic hand-me-down in anime history. You know how most kids get their older siblings worn-out clothes? Well, Luffy got a crusty old straw hat that probably hadn't seen soap since Roger's execution. But this wasn't just any regular hat from the local thrift store. This was the hat. Little Luffy, crying his eyes out, probably looking like a human fountain, and Shanks just drops this hat on his head like he's crowning the next king. Which, spoiler alert, he kind of was. And then my man Shanks hits him with that line, "Return this hat to me when you've become a great pirate. No pressure, kid. Just your entire future wrapped up in some woven straw." And let me tell you, Luffy took that promise more seriously than Zoro takes his nap time. Have you seen how this man acts when someone so much as breathes wrong in his hat's direction? Dude turns into a combination of the IRS and an overprotective mom. Touch the hat? That's a one-way ticket to catching these gum-gum hands. But here's the thing that really shows how special this hat is. The rare moments when Luffy actually lets someone else wear it. When he puts that hat on someone's head, you know things are about to get real. It's like his way of saying, "Hold my emotional support hat while I rearrange this bad guy's face." Now let's talk about the galaxy brain move Shanks pulled here. This man really said, you know what would be wild? If I gave the future Pirate King the same hat that the previous Pirate King wore. Because yeah, that's just a casual detail that gets dropped later. This hat went from Roger to Shanks to Luffy. Talk about a legendary hand-me-down chain. That hat's been through more battles than most Marines. It's been stitched up, patched up, and probably seen more action than any piece of headwear has any right to. But just like Luffy, it refuses to quit. At this point, it's probably more patched than original hat, kind of like a Ship of Theseus situation, but make it fashion. And you know what's the real kicker? Every time Luffy reaches for that hat before a fight, every time he adjusts it just right, that's him channeling his inner Shanks. It's like his way of saying, watch me make you proud. The hat isn't just sitting on his head, it's carrying the weight of a promise that's been spanning decades. So yeah, Shanks really looked at a 7-year-old kid and said, here's my most treasured possession. Try not to lose it while you're out there changing the world. And somehow, against all odds and logic, that actually worked out. Now, that's what I call having a good eye for talent, or maybe he just really needed an excuse to get a new hat. Either way, it worked out pretty well for everyone involved. I'm talking eerily similar here, folks. Both of them have that signature laugh that makes you question their sanity. Roger's all gahahaha, while Luffy's hitting us with the shishishi, but the energy, identical. These guys could hear someone say, "You're about to die," and they'd probably respond with, "That's hilarious." Scene? Parallel moments of Roger and Luffy declaring their dreams. And let's talk about their dreams for a second. Roger's out there saying he's gonna turn the world upside down, and Luffy's screaming about being the Pirate King like it's as easy as ordering takeout. Normal people would call that crazy talk. Shanks? He's probably sitting somewhere going, yep, that's the Roger spirit right there. Scene. Clips of both Roger and Luffy prioritizing their crews over treasure. Here's the real kicker, though. Both of these absolute units care more about the adventure than the treasure. The One Piece could be a lifetime supply of cup noodles, and neither of them would care. They're all about that freedom, baby. While other pirates are hoarding gold, these guys are collecting life-changing adventures and traumatized government officials. Scene. Shanks watching Luffy in Windmill Village, Episode 4. So when Shanks was watching little Luffy in that village, he wasn't just seeing some random kid with big dreams, he was watching history prepare to repeat itself, and instead of trying to become Pirate King himself, which, let's be real, he probably could have. This man said, "Nah, I'm gonna be this kid's biggest cheerleader instead." Scene: various moments of Shanks hearing about Luffy's adventures. Think about it. Shanks could have easily gone for the crown himself. Man's got the strength, the crew, and probably knows where the One Piece is. Looking at you, Buggy. But nope. He looked at this tiny chaos gremlin in Windmill Village and thought, This is the one who's gonna carry Roger's will. And you know what's the wildest part? He was absolutely right. While everyone else was looking at Luffy like he was just some village kid with impossible dreams, Shanks saw the future Pirate King. That's not just good judgment. That's next level future sight that would make Katakuri jealous. Alright, let's talk about how Shanks has basically been the world's most overpowered helicopter parent. You think he just went off to do his own thing after leaving Windmill Village? Please, this man's been moving pieces around the board like he's writing the whole story himself. Remember Marineford? When everything was going to absolute pieces and Akainu was trying to turn everyone into barbecue, Shanks shows up like a substitute teacher who just caught the class setting things on fire. One minute he's nowhere to be seen. Next minute he's telling the entire Navy and Blackbeard to go sit in the corner and think about what they've done. And they actually listened. But here's the real tea. This man has been keeping tabs on Luffy like a proud dad stalking his kid's social media. Every time Luffy does something crazy, which is basically every Tuesday, Shanks is somewhere out there probably going, "That's my boy," while his crew tries to explain how chaos equals progress. And then there's that meeting with the Gorosei, just casually walking into Mary Joy's like he's showing up for a parent-teacher conference. The same guys who want to erase Luffy from existence are having tea time with the man who basically raised him. Make it make sense. This is like finding out your uncle's been secretly meeting with your school principal. What are they plotting? But Shanks isn't just watching, he's orchestrating. Every time something major happens in the world, this man's somehow involved, but in the most "I'm not involved, but I totally am" way possible. He's like that one friend who says they don't want drama, but somehow knows all the tea. Is he protecting Luffy? Testing him? Waiting for him to get strong enough to handle whatever storm is coming? My guy's got more secrets than Vegapunk's personal diary, but one thing's crystal clear. Everything Shanks does has a purpose. He's not just randomly popping up at world-changing events for the aesthetics. Think about it. Shanks didn't just invest an arm in Luffy's future too soon. He invested his entire reputation, his influence, and probably his master plan in this rubber-brained kid from the East Blue. That's not the kind of investment you make unless you're absolutely sure it's going to pay off. Just remember, folks, if you ever see Shanks show up somewhere, either something incredibly important is about to happen, or something incredibly important just got prevented, there is no in-between with this man. Listen up, folks, because we're about to wrap this whole thing up with a truth bomb. Shanks didn't just yeet a hat onto some random kid's head and peace out. This man literally architected the future Pirate King, and he did it so smoothly that most people didn't even notice. Think about it. What if Shanks had never rolled up to that sleepy little village? Sure, maybe Luffy would have still become a pirate. Kid's got that chaotic energy that screams, "Regular jobs aren't for me." But would he have become the pirate? The one who's out there turning the world government's hair gray and making friends with everyone who tries to kill him? Because that's the real magic here. Shanks didn't just teach Luffy how to be a pirate, he taught him how to be a good pirate. The kind who'd rather share meat than steal it. The kind who fights for friends instead of treasure. The kind who carries that big D energy that makes the 5 elders need their blood pressure medication. Every time Luffy does something absolutely unhinged but somehow perfectly right, that's Shanks' influence right there. When he's throwing hands with celestial dragons, making friends with former enemies, or turning entire islands into his extended family. That's pure Shanks energy with a rubber twist. And let's be real, the results speak for themselves. Our boy went from stabbing himself in the face to prove a point, not his brightest moment, to becoming the most wanted man in the world. Still questionable decision making, but with style. That's what I call character development. Now everyone's wondering when Luffy's gonna give that crusty old hat back. But at this point, does it even matter? That hat's probably got more patches than original straw, and it's seen more action than most Marines see in their entire careers. It's basically become the One Piece world's most legendary hand-me-down. But the real question that keeps me up at night, when Luffy and Shanks finally meet again, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna throw hands? Share drinks? Both? Knowing these two, they'll probably start with a fight and end with the biggest party the New World has ever seen. One thing's for sure though, without Shanks betting his arm, and basically everything else, on this rubber-brained kid with a dream bigger than the Grand Line, the pirate world would look very different today, and probably a lot less fun. So, here's to you, Shanks, you overprotective, future-seeing, one-armed Chad. Whatever your master plan is, we're here for it. Just maybe next time, keep your valuable devil fruits in a locked box, yeah? Not everyone who eats your treasure is gonna turn out to be the next Joy Boy. Hope you enjoyed this. See you again here on 7 Seas.